Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pender.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And it's getting hot in here, but we won't take off all our clothes because there's ladies present. And no one really wants to see that. But how have you guys dealt with the not quite heat dome, but very toasty weather this weekend?
It's been all right. I think today I felt it more than any other day. But other than that, it hasn't been that bad. I understand the warnings because they're really afraid of what happened last year. So, but this is like a typical summer day for most people.
Yeah, same with me. Nothing terrible, but I haven't spent a lot of time outside. So,
yeah, I obviously do not like the heat, as I've talked about before. Sensibly, we bought our new air conditioner a couple of months ago, unlike all the people that you see every year in the news. Yeah. Whenever the hot weather comes, and it's like, we can't find air conditioners anywhere. Buy it early. You know the heat is coming at some point, and it's worked a treat. It's been lovely, but we've had to turn it off for the benefit of recording this. So we're going to have a short show, because otherwise we're all going to melt. And I know I usually say it's not going to be as long a show as usual, and we run just at maybe 2.5 hours. This will be shorter. We're just focusing on Whitecaps. We've got 2 games to talk about, a cup tie, a league game. Then we're going to look at some of the other news around MLS. And I'm going to do the games in reverse. We're going to start with the game that took place this afternoon, this evening, depending on how you kind of would want to look at it. Vancouver Whitecaps, New England Revolution, the Supporter Shield champs came to town to take on an informed team at BC Place. Obviously, it produced a 0-0 draw. And let's be honest, it wasn't a classic. Whitecaps certainly looked a better team in the second half, just couldn't get the breakthrough. First half to forget. Steve, just your quick general thoughts on the match.
It seemed like there was there were it was something wrong in the box where they weren't willing to go inside it. Like a lot of shots from outside the box from distance, I felt. I didn't notice, except for crosses, but even the crosses weren't that great. But overall, just the disappointing thing where everything seemed fine except when they got close to net. And then it would just be either a shot from distance or nothing happening when it got close in.
Well, the big AEW pay-per-view tonight was Forbidden Door. It felt like the Forbidden Door was the box for Whitecaps to actually penetrate into. What did you make of it, Zach?
Yeah, the first half was poor and did not produce a lot, and the game as a whole, like I told you guys, I think was kind of underwhelming. With New England, I feel like with New England's a team where you can't say that the turf hindered them, because they also play on some probably worse turf or some
much worse
bad turf.
Yeah.
So but I don't know, maybe the cross country travel held them off a bit. It was interesting to see. It's always interesting to see Bruce Arena and his approach and kind of how he does things, and I was expecting a little bit more from them, but I think I know some people will view this as 2 points drop for the Whitecaps. I think that this is probably, and it is because it's a home game. Don't get me wrong, but I think the fact that they hung with them, they hung with the Revolution, I think is probably a good thing to get a point.
Yeah, if you're looking at the glass half full approach, clean sheet, back-to-back clean sheets, and they held a very dangerous attack at bay, and as you say, went toe-to-toe with them. It does feel, though, like 2 points dropped when a team's come from the east and they had travel difficulties. They had to fly into Seattle and then drive up, so you've got the tiredness and the fatigue from that. Then you've also got the fact that it was a really hot day out there, which may have played a little bit into it, I guess, for both teams, because Whitecaps obviously were involved in a cup semi-final midweek. But the first half, it just seems so sluggish. And really, the only two things to talk about, first of all, Caicedo. It looks like he's got a right knee injury. The Whitecaps told the media that it's going to get reassessed next week. He looked in a lot of pain going off, though, Steve, and he would be a big blow and just another potential injury to the mass of injuries that they've seemed to have this season so far.
Yeah, they seemed like they were getting back from those injuries, and it seems like
and then Godoy's out again with a calf strain.
Well, that's a given when he's out. That's not to be expected. Unexpected, sorry. The Caicedo one, it could be. Obviously, like at that time in that moment, you always see like I feel like players like react more to this shoving, and then when it's all depending on how the swelling goes. If it is a knee injury, and if it doesn't swell up that bad, then maybe it's okay. I think they'll see it probably tomorrow in a better light. If they do lose them, normally I would say yes, it's a huge blow, but I feel like they got quite a bit of like depth up front where they can, as long as it doesn't start piling up like it was before. If it's just like one injury, then I think they can survive. Although him finally getting getting that free kick goal last week or something like that, and then going through the injury, you kind of wanted him to get going and score some more goals and kind of get in the role of things. So that's the part that's disappointing, I think, out of all of it.
Yeah, I mean, we said that last week, Zach, that it's like hopefully this will see him kick on now. He's got his first goal of the season. He was so overjoyed last week, and it's like just a complete opposite. In so much pain, had to get help to the dressing room by two people as well. Hopefully it isn't as bad as it first looks. And I do agree with Steve. There is some depth there. But him and Dahomey, when they can be on their game and link up together, they're so exciting. And for the Whitecaps to be where they are, with the injuries they've had, is actually quite amazing. But if they keep having them, it's really not sustainable.
No, I saw some people being like, oh, the Whitecaps kind of full strength roster going into this game and stuff. And I was just like, well, when I read the pre-match report, I was like, actually, they're missing some significant pieces, right?
Godoy, Guti, Berhalter.
Yeah, and then
Nowinski as well.
Did Rusty poke Nowinski in the eye, or did Nowinski's eye? Does his eye get injured when he got his undressed by Johnston midweek, or
the eye injury is the new metatarsal?
Oh, okay. So they have some significant people missing. Maybe not like longer. I know Hassal is well on the road. Should be back anytime, and that'll be interesting how they handle that. But they do have. I think the players who are out due to injury are not insignificant players. And now to lose Caicedo, I think is I don't think it's going to break them, but I think it really removes I think what's been a really solid option for them, whether in a starting role or maybe what I would think it was more effectively off the bench.
I mean, it could also lead to some tinkering. We might actually see White and Cavallini play together.
Well, we saw that midweek.
Yeah, and it worked fairly well. Well, at least for the second half, it worked fairly well. The only other thing really to talk about in the first half, Carlos Hale, chance in front of goal, which normally you expect him to put that away. Listening to the TV commentary, I haven't looked at the general stats across the league for quite a few weeks now. He is apparently leading in 10 different categories across the league. Stunning player.
and that's why I was excited to see what they would do in this game, both New England and the Whitecaps, like how they would handle each other and how they would perform. He is an incredibly talented player. He's also given some great commentary on the league and their approach, I think, over time. But yeah, him and Bo, I think, are a dynamic duo. I think they're still this year trying to figure out how does the role that Jose plays in that. And to get more firing on all cylinders better. But yeah, he is a quality player, and that was a chance where I thought for sure he would have found the back of the net.
I think he just tried to be too cute, Steve, and tried to do too much. He was trying to show the fancy footwork to make room for the shot, and then it just allowed the Whitecaps to close him down.
I think it was just a little bit of a delay there that he, typically he's the kind of guy that doesn't wait too long and he makes a decisive decision. I think it probably got him inside his own head and just messed up the timing of his shot. I think I give him a second chance and he buries them more often than not.
Yeah, but goalless at the half and all to play for, and I thought it was a pretty boring first half, and I hoped it was going to get better in the second, and it did. It really did pick up. There was much better from both teams, a number of opportunities for both sides. Keepers were called into action. There were some close calls, and in the last 15 minutes in particular, I think the Whitecaps pushed really hard. And what I was thinking when just planning for the show, even though, as Steve said, they didn't look that dangerous and they weren't getting penetration in the box and everything like that, with how Vanny has got this team playing just now and all these late goals and the late points taken and the late victories that they've got, right up to the final whistle, I still felt that they were going to find that goal from somewhere, which is a great thing to be feeling if you're watching at home, if you're at the stadiums, and if you're playing against the Whitecaps. If you feel this is a team that's capable of scoring at any time, I think that's a really good thing that they've now got going for them. Of course they didn't, but potentially I felt optimistic right to the very end.
There's more confidence in the attack now than there was before. I feel like they're the way they move in that final third. We saw it quite a bit in the midweek game, but in that, even in the against New England, there was movement. I agree. They kind of did settle a little bit for the outside shot. I think it was more because nobody really made themselves a target in the box. I think that was a big issue. There wasn't very much movement from the players that without the ball, but the players with the ball, I guess they had to settle for those outside shots, and that's where it was kind of a little frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. It was interesting that how they kind of in the second half, it was like the gloves came off and they just went at it. It was like a sort of a slugfest, like back and forth, like just almost like forgetting about all sort of all out attack almost, right? Like just like let's go and get a goal, and then kind of left themselves, both sides left themselves open to the counter, and we're kind of able to last ditch defend or the play broke down or whatever. But I also agree that I felt like there was a goal or actually goals in this game. I thought in our pregame talk, I thought for sure this was going to be a draw, but I thought it was going to be a draw with goals. I thought it was going to be a couple of goals at least on each side. And
the Revs certainly had a couple of late chances as well, and Cropper came up with a couple of saves.
I think if they played like that throughout the whole game, I think there definitely would have been some goals. I think they just left it too late for me.
Like you, I thought the Whitecaps have had so many games where especially at home and now I think where they've scored late goals or just in the league in general, where they've scored late goals, that I totally thought that there was going to be a goal at the end of the game. And I thought first it's going to be from the Whitecaps, more likely it's going to be from the Whitecaps, but because New England, some of their big players, I thought, okay, this could kind of go either way. But I was a little surprised that there wasn't a goal in the end. And I think the crowd probably will, in one sense, will be happy with a point, but will leave like a little bit disappointed on a really warm day with the sun shining down on the open hole at BC Place.
15,000 was the announced attendance for this one. Certainly didn't quite look like that, but we've said before it's tough sometimes with the tarps being off to really get a good gauge of it. Anything else from the game that you guys want to talk about? There isn't really any stand out points. we can turn our attention to some of the players. What's your thoughts on Kubas so far? I think he's shored up the defence a little bit, having that guy in front and breaking up some moves, and he's shown he's got some good delivery as well. And we spoke in last week's show that he's also shown he's got a little bit of a shot on him when it comes to it as well. But I think he's settling in pretty well and pretty quickly.
And I think it's giving more confidence to the wide players, the wing backs or whatever you want to call them, to get forward a little bit more, because they know they have that solid cover in the middle of the pitch where they're almost like become a back four with Kubas back there. So it gives them more. Because today I felt another player I thought really showed up, and we talked about him past weeks too, is Giorgio. Like, There's been moments where he's just like I remember last year we made fun of that signing. I think as a threesome, all three of us made points about that. I personally thought it was just a depth signing because they needed to get somebody on the roster. Because I think last year was a really heavy injured fullback session where they were losing fullback, left, right, and center. So, but this year he's kind of found his feet in the team and is showing quite a bit. Where I think he could be a solid. He's like we're talking about Cropper and Hasal, and I know it's not the same thing because Gutierrez has been in there quite a bit, but it's hard. How do you push Giorgio to the bench? When Gutierrez comes back, so it's very hard at this point.
Yeah, I think Kubas has made a really great first impression, and he, I think, has definitely contributed to the results they've gotten in the games he's played in. Steve, what you're saying there, are you getting the sense that this is potentially finally that filling that void that's been kind of been lacking in front of the back?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yes. Yeah. I would say since Matthias Laba, but going forward, I don't think they've ever had that. I can't remember a player that they've had sitting back there in front of the front three where the guy could push the ball forward too.
Yeah.
So I think that they've filled that hole and they've expanded it outwards as well.
Yeah, time will tell, but I think it seems like a quality signing.
It's all potential right now. It's still in the works, but right now potentially this could be a very good signing for them.
And I agree with you guys on Giorgio. I did not like Giorgio's a guy I've used in like third division Germany when I needed a fullback, or I wanted to bring in another Canadian or whatever in FIFA or whatever. But I never really rated him. I didn't think it was the greatest of signing, but he seems to be coming into his own. There was that one moment in the second half where I think it was off a corner. He was actually on the left side, and off a corner, the keeper threw it out. He intercepted it, ran all the way into the box. I forget if he did a 1-2 or just ran straight into the box, cut in on his right foot, and I thought he was going to go far, top corner, far post, but he thought there was an opening near post, and the keeper made a competent save, but it was a really quality overall play from him, and I think he's definitely stepped up, and you hope that that's these last few games is more his level as opposed to him playing above his level.
Yeah.
But we'll see going forward.
Yeah,
it's about maintaining.
Yeah, and he's looking confident and he's getting a run in the team, and I think that helps. It all plays into it, and he is looking better with every game.
The thing is, a lot of people might not know this, but Giorgio, when he was I think it was 17 or 18, people were always talking about youth players to watch. He was on a lot of those lists as a potential player to be like a starter with the national team. And then he just and I think it's got to do with that not finding a place to play when you're 19, 20, 21. And I think if you the CPL was back then, he would have found that place to play, and he would be even moving better at this point right now with that kind of development stage.
Wasn't he also involved though in that Haiti loss and the Gold Cup?
I think
he was.
Was it him with the giveaway? I was thinking,
yeah,
what was it? It was the ZBG.
It was him.
He was involved. Alfonso was not great on one or two of those goals also, but I remember him being a bit of a goat, not in the good sense.
Yeah,
it was interesting because he was with Hearts obviously for a spell, and when I first spoke to him, it was when he was as a Hearts player, and that's a tough league for a young Canadian to go over to and find their feet. So when Hearts let him go, I thought he would maybe just kind of go a little bit into obscurity, but he's had a new lease of life, and it's been great. Yeah. If we want to talk about someone else that might have a new lease of life, Javane Brown in a back three again looking very, very good.
which is something we talked about so much last year. Like,
Yeah.
he's more of a
Last year,
center back.
Yeah.
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 He has he's got the thing is he's got the athleticism to play that back three as well. Like in the physicalness that you can, even though he's a kind of, I think he's under 6 foot if I'm not mistaken, but he doesn't play like he's like he plays like he leaps and gets into the game shots more. Then that's why I was thinking like when they kept putting him at a wing back, I just didn't see it. Like I could see the athleticism going for it, but I don't feel like he knew what he was going to do once he got up there on the attack. And this is I think fits more.
Last player I want to talk about is Cava. I know we speak about him on every single show, but his recent form has been good. And I liked the confidence from him tonight, but in particular, he's got that kind of hustle and bustle that he can make chances by just like using a little shoulder here or just a nudge and using his strength to get past guys to set things up. There was that one chance, though, that he had that was saved at the near post.
At the end?
Yeah, and when I saw Tom's photo from it, there was not a shot on, and he really should have cut it back.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought you've got to go for it, but
I think he was just trying to power it in or just like shove it through.
Yeah, because it was like he made such a good move to get to that point. And so I think it was that kind of selfishness from a striker that you usually want. But it was a unfortunate decision or a mistimed decision because he really should have tried to put it back.
There was a play in the first half when it was actually Giorgio that tried to force it, and I think he had Cava to his left, and he should have passed it off. And I think that was a very good chance. That's where you were talking about Giorgio's confidence. That was maybe too much confidence for him in that play.
yeah, possibly.
Well, it's hard to. The thing is, too, it's hard to speak negative of him. He's on a great run, right? It was four goals in 4 games or something.
And no yellow card. Full game. Let's give it to him right there.
He's avoided that yellow card because the next one he gets a suspension, right?
Oh, does he? Okay, I didn't know that.
I think he's back from a suspension.
No,
he's back. It's been a while.
Remember, he did pick up a yellow card.
He's back from suspension. I swear they said on the broadcast today that he gets one more and he's out.
But isn't there a thing where something if he plays no yellow cards for a certain amount, it gets rescinded to another one?
It drops off a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh well, we'll have a look at that. I mean, I do look at it that it's 2 points dropped, but it is still
it's a home
gained, and it's just because they're at home.
Yeah, for me it's a home game. That's why for me it's a little bit leading towards the 2 points drop. But I agree with Zach that that's a tough team to play against too.
There's one other player I'd like to ask you guys about.
Oh, sure.
There's this wee little Scotsman on the team. Yeah, I feel like, and this might be harsh because of the especially the head stuff he's gone through, but is his play kind of dropped off a bit? Like
I think it had, and then it was starting to get there, but tonight it looked like it had dropped off again. But they did make an interesting point on the broadcast that he seems to link up better and have a better understanding with Brian White.
Yeah. And I also think
he's maybe not on the same wavelength as Cavallini. You saw that in one of the moves where Gold made the ball thinking that Cava was going to make the run, and it just broke down.
And it does, I think, also too work better when it's him behind 2 guys.
Yes,
which we saw midweek, and we've seen in previous times because he has more freedom, more space, and I think more options when he has the ball. But I just felt in this game like I was like, man, he this is a game, especially in that second half, where he could have really turned the game. Like his skills, his ability, he could have changed the game, and he didn't really seem up for it. The other small thing I wanted to ask is why have they not been giving him the armband? Like, right? Like Cava started with the armband.
Maybe he doesn't want it.
Yeah, I thought he wore it last year once or twice. And this year
it was
he
kind
hasn't.
of rotational. I don't know if it's the same as when it was in MDS's time, where he didn't really want to have a captain to begin with. I don't know if Vanny feels that way or.
Well, obviously Russell is the captain. He came on. He took the armband from Cava, didn't he? Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've wondered that a couple games where it was like, okay, Rusty wasn't on, and it was like, why is he not the captain? But
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it could prove costly because you want to take as many points as you can from home, and the Caps are now 2 points off the playoff line, down to 9th. Still very much in it though. And at this stage of the season, where they were looking a few weeks ago, I'd have bitten your hand off for where they're sitting just now. In part 3, we'll have a look around a little bit of the West and how things are currently lying. But, of course, this wasn't the only game this week, because midweek, we all had a semi. And the Whitecaps got through it. And now, a final awaits. And we'll be back chatting about that after this.
Hi, I'm Vanni Sartini, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our Artist of the Month for June here at AFTN from Brooklyn, New York, three-piece band Thick. And that is a bonus track from their 2020 debut album. It's on the CD. It's called 5 AM. The album is called 5 Years Behind, and a fantastic album. Hope you've enjoyed what we've played so far on the show. We've got one more track to come from them this month, and it's their new single that was just released this week. So that'll be coming up at the start of part 3. In this part, though, we're going to turn our attentions to the other game that the Whitecaps played this week. Wednesday night, BC Place. It was a Canadian Championship semi-final, and we've saved the best of the two games that they played this week to last. We're heading to our first Voyageurs Cup final since 2018. 2-1 win over York. Kinda made hard work of it, but also was fairly comfortable at the same time. Workmanlike, I think, was the word I would use to describe it. What did you make of it, Steve?
I agree with you there. It was a little bit tough to watch that first half. That first half was quite boring for me. But the second one, second half picking up and everything, and they got their chances. They made well with their chances. Cropper had to come up big on one free kick. But overall, they did what they had to do. They've had so many games in the last few weeks, so it's good that they didn't let it get to penalties, because that's, I think, my biggest concern while I was watching it.
I mean, did you have any concerns or doubts that they were going to see it through when York pulled one back?
Sorry, me? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm still talking to Steve with it. I mean, not doubts, but I thought, okay, this is going to be an interesting ending. I think that the Whitecaps were the better team on the night. I think that they deserve the win. I think, though, that York, even though they weren't super adventurous in their play, I think acquitted themselves really well. I think they represented their league really well. And I think they kind of approached it kind of the way that they could. They were very tight and compact when they didn't have the ball. And they did their best to use the attacking options they had to kind of go forward. The one thing that I sort of question, although I totally get why Martin Ash did it, was having Di Rosario. They sort of did 5 in midfield, right? And they had Di Rosario wide left until I think, is it Cabreras, the center forward, the big number 9. When he was finally, had run, his legs were kind of going, and they subbed him off and they put Di Rosario up top. in that spot. I think they showed a little bit more. I think they were a little bit more dangerous. Obviously, you know, his heading ability and his hold to play is different than Contreras, but yeah, they were more dangerous. And the one thing I'll say too is, I mean, York scored the goal of the match. I mean, Johnston's undressing of Jake Nowinski was great.
He just danced right past him.
And both Whitecaps goals were no less than fortunate. Like, I mean, the first one was, I think, a little bit fortunate. The second one, Nico will be having nightmares about.
He didn't have a great game for a guy that we've sung his praises a lot on the show, and everyone knows what he's capable of doing. This was his game to really stand out, and we saw what he did against Pacific, stood on his head in that game in the quarterfinal, and I don't know, he just didn't rise to the occasion, which from a Whitecaps point of view obviously helped him.
When you play a team that compact and everything, those are the goals you have to score, because you're not going to get those pretty goals because they're playing tight defensively. They're not giving up lanes and stuff like that. So you have to get those goals where you throw it at the net. I felt like maybe I'm confusing. I thought the second goal was good. I thought the first goal was the one that went up to the crossbar and then White knocked it in.
You might have missed.
Maybe
you might have missed one replay from behind the net where it essentially kind of goes through his hands.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
Kind of because from the front angle, Steve, it looks like it kind of places it in the corner. What really happened is it's kind of right at Nico, goes off his hands and into the corner, and you're like,
gotcha.
Yeah, he should have had it.
I mean, it was great to see Brian White back scoring again, and as we touched on in the first part there, White and Gold link up very well together.
Yeah. Massive confidence booster for him.
Yeah, but like, even Gold's delivery in that game was something that we haven't seen a lot of it in recent matches, and he needs to try and get back to that because we know how dangerous he can be. We know what he can mean to this team, so they have to somehow try and get that Ryan Gold back and get those kind of deliveries going.
That kid from York that's going to the French league, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, he's good. The first time I seen him like a full game there, he's very good. And I don't. What level is he going to in France?
It's second division.
Second tier, yeah.
So that's good division level for him to start off with.
Which is also, I believe, like Caleb Clark looks like he's going to be going over to France to finish his studies, and he's going to be going to play second or third tier over there as well. His dad was telling me.
That's cool.
Yeah, but that's he's another good talented young player that it's good to see this in the CPL where these guys are moving up and everything like that. I know it creates a void at the CPL level because it might your talent is going away, but sometimes you have to do that, and it takes the time to fill that void, but eventually it will fill it because there are players coming up to you.
But that's the thing though, it's not like the dude was there one season or half a season and he's gone, right? Like they got 3.5 years out of him, and he's one of the examples of someone who actually like really developed in the league, right? Like he's like and you hope that it goes better than it did for Borges in Belgium, obviously. Yeah. But again,
what I'm saying is though that for us as the people that know this is the way soccer works, it's no big deal. But I'm just like for the casual fan that is they're going, oh, we're losing this guy, he's our top player. That's tough for the CPL to get, but they need to get more players in. Like a guy like D-Ro's kid, if he starts moving in and becoming the star player, that helps. Bringing that in, so it just takes you got to replace those players that are leaving and create bigger stars. Then
the thing about Dero Jr., if we'll call him that, just for ease, he started the season so brightly, but he has taken a dip. And like this whole game, from York's point of view, came at a horrible time of the season for them. They're in a really bad run in the league, as we talked about, 6 games. They were missing Lyle Wright, who's away with the Canadian under-20s.
Yeah.
And Absy's now moving on. So, I mean, they're in a bit of a transitional phase. So this came at a bad time for them. That said, I thought they were going to get hammered in this 4-0. And they came away with a 2-1 loss. Full credit to them. The Whitecaps struggle to break down teams like this. And that's actually something that Vanni Sartini addressed after the match, and then I asked him a bit more about it. He feels that because the Whitecaps are a team that aren't used to playing with the ball. They like to be the counter team. So when they go up against a team that wants to give the Whitecaps the ball, they struggle a bit sometimes. That's still quite baffling to me, because you should be a team that can play with the ball. That's what football's meant to be about.
Yeah, and as much as that is, yeah, totally. Like, I get it. Like, that's not how you usually play. It's not what you're used to. It's probably not like how you typically train. So it's a different experience for your players. But the players are at a different level and should be able to adapt and to break the other teams down, or break another team down like that. That is one of the criticism I heard from more casual supporters or fans. Was the whole, yeah, okay, we've sort of exercised the demon of losing to CPL sides. We've beaten 3 of them, but we weren't super convincing maybe in any of the 3 games other than maybe Valor. But then again, they kind of took the foot off the gas, and like it was convincing to a degree, but it wasn't like they smashed them and showed like massive superiority, right? So I think it shows the level at the CPL, especially how much they're up for these big games. 2, it shows, like you said, Michael, there's different. The Whitecaps are playing in a different way that they're not used to. But I think it also is. I mean, for me, it's these games have all been exciting. They've all been intriguing and enthralling, and a kind of a joy to watch. The other thing I want to say real quickly too is about York's play. I know some people might have watched York and thought, oh, like they're really direct. There was a lot of long balls, and to a degree there in one perspective there was. But one of the things that they did really well, and that helped them create a couple of their chances, was they were really good at the long diagonal ball. That was not like just hoofing it forward and hoping. It was switching the play to the one side and then having a ball go back across to the far winger who was in space and actually like hitting that player. Yeah. And they did it really, and Absy obviously helped a lot with that, but they did it really well. And it was, for me, it was a really intriguing game to watch, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like York. I don't. Sometimes you have to push the ball, deep forward in order to create some space in the midfield, and I think that's what they were doing. I felt like they were mixing it up nicely, especially for a team that's like at the quote unquote lower level. And I thought they had to play solid when they had to do. I think Martin Ash has got to really have this team for, especially like Michael was saying, the form they were on. Really had them ready to play in this game, and that's pretty impressive.
Oh, they were so up for it.
They
were more up for it than Vancouver was, for sure. At least at the start.
Yeah, that I don't. At no stage did I feel concerned that the Whitecaps weren't going to get the job done. I thought it was going to be a formality. I thought it was going to be a bit more than it ended up being. At half-time, I was starting to kind of rethink that a little bit, because obviously the next goal was going to be crucial, and it was the Whitecaps that got it. Let's talk about the crowd as well. Announced crowd of around.
Wait. There was a crowd?
There was. When I first got in and I took a photo of it, I was like, wow. I understand it's a hard sell for a couple of reasons. It's midweek. You're playing a team that a lot of the casual fans won't have a clue who they are, or they'll look at it as lower league opposition. And that in part comes down to the fact that the games are on One Soccer and people aren't seeing them, and we won't go down all that road again. But if you're not seeing a team and you're not seeing a league, you don't know the quality of that team. So you're looking at it off, it's just a lower league team. But for a semi-final, and I think the Whitecaps did a good job promoting this as well this time, and made sure that season ticket holders knew it was part of their package, and media were let know to get that message out as well, that it's part of the season ticket package, and they did some good build-up stuff to it. I don't know what more they can do to get fans in, because they had really good ticket pricing as well.
I think you're right. They did quite a good job at trying to let people know in the different ways they can. I think they did a good job with saying, hey, this is a game that is not going to be, we don't think is going to be well attended, and making a $15 ticket available. I thought that was, I don't think I've ever seen them do that in the MLS era. So I thought that was really good. I think you can always improve at educating people, because again, cup matches are typically midweek anyways, so you're not going to get rid of cup matches midweek, especially with MLS trying to use less and less international windows and all that kind of stuff like they should. So I think they can continue to improve at educating the people on this, what this tournament is, why it's so important, why it's so exciting, why you should be there to watch them take on these younger clubs, newer clubs, smaller clubs, however you want to look at that. And they can continue, I think, to grow at that. And that's up down to their, marketing people and, the people who need to do their social media stuff. They continue to grow that. I think they did all right this year, but there's continued room for growth there.
I think some of it might have to do with just their, like, maybe people are noticed their previous form in the CPL, the Voyagers Cup matches or whatever against CPL competition, and maybe they thought it was going to be a rehash of what's happened before in previous years. For me, it's just I think it fell really at a bad time in June when, like, a lot of people, you get a lot of kids that are ending school in that week and stuff like that.
A lot of graduations this week.
Graduations, busyness there, and it's the first time in a couple of years where they could actually have a proper graduation. So people were doing a lot of that stuff. So I think it just probably fell in the wrong week in this case. Hopefully, the TFC one will get a bigger crowd there and more people there, especially with it being a final. Hopefully,
yes. Well, let's talk.
There's no problem about that being a bigger crowd.
Yes, and especially with an Italian community here in Vancouver. So we'll come to that now. So we are in the final, or I say the Whitecaps are in the final against Toronto. Before we look ahead to that, Toronto looked very impressive in that 4-1 demolition of Montreal in the other semi-final. They also looked pretty good against Atlanta yesterday as well. It feels like they're starting to find their feet. They're making a bit of a run up the table. They've got a big new addition that is going to start to take the pitch. Out of the two teams the Whitecaps could have played in this final, I think they've got the tougher of the two possibilities.
I don't think we would have said that maybe earlier in the year, but
no,
absolutely.
I would have been like, let's give us TFC.
Yeah, absolutely. At this moment, though, for sure, this is the much more difficult game. I wonder if there's a chance that the Insigne's arrival will disrupt kind of what they've been building over these last few weeks. That's what I wanted to talk to you
guys about, just to get your thoughts on that, because I think it has a possibility of doing that. They've made such a big fanfare of him coming. And it's a bloody big deal, you could almost say. But there is that danger. There's also the danger that he could pick up an injury early on and then he's out. Or the BC Place turf monster claims another victim. Imagine the meltdown out east if that happens.
Just another victim.
The last from our World Cup games as compensation or something like that.
But yeah, I mean, there is a chance he could disrupt their team, Steve.
Oh, for sure. Whenever we've seen it where a big player, it's been happened in the past where a team's been on a good roll, a big player comes in and it kind of distracts a little bit from the other players. Some of them might feel jealous of that new player coming in and getting all the attention. And sometimes the way you want to fit it on the pitch, like he typically plays wing. Now, are they going to play him at wing? Or are they going to play him in the center of the pitch? Are they going to play him up top? That'll be all interesting to see where they fit him in. And does it disrupt him too? Because remember, it's just not him disrupting the team. He's joining a new team. So how is it going to be for him?
And, like, MLS has a lot of things he's going to have to get used to, as we speak about all the time, the different weather conditions, all the travel, the different kind of surfaces. It will take a bit of him getting used to.
And he's got teammates that he's got to get used to too. I use the example of Kenny Miller joining the Whitecaps. I was at those training sessions where in training he would get frustrated because the players wouldn't make the right pass. Like Insigne, like he's gonna be like going one way. He's gonna be expecting it, but maybe that player that's got the ball is not gonna be able to get him the ball. So there's gonna be frustration there too. So it's not gonna be all roses on the TFC field when they're on the pitch and everything like that. So I expect a lot of. It's not going to be perfect. I think they'll definitely get a boost initially, but we'll see how. I don't know, when is he joining the actual team, like on the pitch?
I don't know when his first games are.
I thought they said July 9th, but I could be wrong.
No. And when's the final again? I can't remember.
No one knows. Oh, is it set?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen.
I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's been officially announced, but it's July 27th.
Oh, what is that?
Breaking news if it hasn't been.
Wait, is that that's a Wednesday?
It's
again?
a Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. From my understanding, if my memory serves me right, that Bob Bradley's formation and general approach isn't that crazy different from Napoli. So I think they're both 4-3-3 kind of setups. So I think he can kind of fit in. I think he's a different kind of winger, right? Than most. Like he's not got crazy pace and like that kind of stuff. He's more creative and can take people on and shoot from distance and set up from distance.
Is he inverted where he comes inside the
yes,
pitch
yeah.
too?
My recollection is he usually plays on the left and he's right-footed.
No,
I mean, let's be honest. He's a world-class, top-quality player, and he is a big get for any club. And for TFC to land him is like staggering, really.
But yeah.
It's the whole chemistry thing off the bat, but then good players do have a way of settling in very quickly.
No. So the one thing I do need to say, which we might have said previously about Insigne, is I have a number of Italian friends who think he's going to be a bust in MLS. Like for all his world class ability.
Is that Euro snobs that look
down
on
MLS?
No.
These are football people.
Oh.
Who think that like Toronto's expecting maybe the second coming of Giovinco, and it's like, yeah, Giovinco was like exponentially feeling younger than him, right? He came in his like mid-20s. This guy's what, like 34 or whatever.
Is he 34
or 32 or whatever? He's in his 30s.
Yeah.
He's definitely older and doesn't and won't be like running in the same way that like a young Giovinco did, and he doesn't have the point to prove that Giovinco did, and so yeah.
I noticed that. I noticed that too. That players that are not as athletic, even like world class players, they don't always have a great run in MLS either. Like they seem to they're not able to keep up with the pace and everything, because MLS is more of a frantic style of football.
Oh yeah.
Instead of the Serie A. Yeah.
But I mean, I say that as just as a caveat or whatever. Obviously, if he comes and lights it up, no one's gonna be like, oh, that's shocking. I think one of the things that's going to be most interesting matchup on the field might not actually be what happens with Insigne. I think the most interesting matchup in that final might be what Kubas does to kind of take care of Pozuelo. If Pozuelo ends up being kind of more in the middle of the park, I think that could really dictate things. And if Insigne wasn't coming and I was in the marketing department for the Whitecaps, that would probably be one of the things I would be keying on, is like, come watch Kubas shut down TFC to enable us to lift the trophy, kind of.
Yeah, well, as Vanni Sartini said after the York game, he wants fans to come along to watch their Vancouver Italian and not this Italian that is coming to be playing for Toronto. So let's just hope the club don't do a big marketing push in the Italian community to try and get them to come along to cheer on the opposition.
So by the Vancouver's Italian, they mean the coach?
Yes, because Sartini's Italian.
Because people often go to football matches to watch the coach?
No, but you know what I mean. Like, if you're going to cheer on an Italian, you're cheering on your own Italian. You're not cheering on the guy that's coming in.
Yeah, I hear you.
You don't agree, clearly, but
no. It's just like it would make more sense to me if there was an Italian player.
Yeah, well, maybe that was a little slip that he's let out. Maybe Paolo Rossi's coming out for retirement. I'd enjoy that. I loved watching him. 82 World Cup, absolute classic. But I think ticket sales will be good for that. It should be a great atmosphere, and hopefully it's a great game as well. I hate to say it, I think TFC's the favourites coming into it, but it is at BC Place, so I'm going to go with Vanni's optimism of the Whitecaps have that 51% edge.
No, the TFC has to be favoured. If Vancouver wins that, it'll be a huge upset.
Really?
Yeah.
PFC's not been that good this year.
No,
I know.
but they
it was
started to hit their stride.
No, but they're pretty good right now.
Yeah.
really.
I mean, obviously, there's a month that could change things, but that's and so we'll talk about it in the build-up.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're a betting person right now, forgetting what the odds and whatever, like if you were just saying guessing who's going to run right now, and you weren't choosing the Toronto, they'd be kind of daft.
Who's your money on for who takes out Insigne first? Javaine Brown, Marcus Godinho, or Andres Kubas? Or Cavallini tracking back and just whipping him down in the second minute?
Well, if Jake Nowitzki's playing, I would say he would try, but I don't think he should be starting against Insigne.
Should be an interesting one. But of course, Insigne isn't the only big name coming to MLS this summer and for the rest of the season. We'll be back talking about a couple of them after this.
Hi, I'm Maxim Krippel, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I've always got a second place. The only thing I own is my name. I'll take a seat in the back, shut my mouth, hide away. And the bronze to the side to kick the one that falls behind. And the bronze to the side to kick the one that falls behind. You think that I'm a loser. I love when people tell me I should quit. I'll never be a winner. I love when people tell me I should quit. I'm always getting overlooked. No one ever seen or understood. I'll take a seat in the back, shut my mouth, hide away. I'm the bronze to the side to kick the one that falls behind. I'm the bronze to the side to kick the one that falls behind. You think that I'm a loser. I love when people tell me I should quit. I'll never be a winner. I love when people tell me I should quit.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our final track from our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for June from Brooklyn, New York. They're called Thick. That is their new single, Loser, taken from their upcoming second album, Happy Now. It's getting released on August 19th. And if you've enjoyed Thick on the last few episodes of the show, why not head along and see them? They're coming to Vancouver as part of their first headline tour. They're going to be playing at the Wise Hall on September 24th, my wife's birthday. So I think we all know what she's getting as a birthday present. An album that I will then take to play in the car, and tickets to a great concert. Come and
Better
join
so-
us. Have a great birthday celebration.
Better song, Thick's Loser or Beck's Loser?
Oh, that's a good
Beck,
question.
Beck is classic.
Beck's
I've-
Loser is a classic song.
I love that song.
I was in grade 9, I think, when that came out. That was
Possibly.
that was amazing. That was amazing.
I just watched a video for that the other day, funnily enough, because it came up and recommended on YouTube because it
Oh.
was Thick's Loser.
Is that
Oh,
a song? Is that a song that was Beck's one that you can't like really play anymore because it, like, even though maybe it's sarcastic or whatever, it's too I don't know, negative or triggering or.
Oh, it might be. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, I
It could.
don't
It could be.
Well, I
Oh,
mean,
well,
you,
it's
you know us here in the show. We play lots of songs that other folk won't play. Stay tuned for
No,
this.
I just meant
this
like
episode's
culture.
wavelength.
I just
No,
meant culture.
I don't think so. I don't think it.
I don't know.
No,
I
not
can't
that
think
one.
why it wouldn't be. But
The devil one's. The devil one's good too. I like that one.
oh,
can't remember
I've seen Beck live, and he was excellent. Like, it's very early stuff where it was really good, and then I kind of lost interest in him a bit. But
I think.
that's me.
Did you see? I think I saw him at the Orpheum once.
Oh, I saw him in Scotland at the Usher Hall.
He was. I think it was Beck. Yeah, it was Beck. That we were going for the opening band, and the opening band never made it past the border.
Oh.
So we were disappointed, but
Yeah, Where It's At, I like that one.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And there was the other one with it, like a
oh yeah, Where It's At.
remember Devil or something. Maybe it was part of one of the songs. I remember him. Devil's Haircut. That's it.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yes.
Those three are part of my top 3 Beck songs.
Oh, I remember haircuts. Anyway, let's move back to the football chat now. So, last part, Insigne, bloody big deal for Toronto. We all know that. Have they been usurped, though, in the big name department? That's a debate for us to have by the Whitecaps' next opponents, LAFC. First of all, they announced their own Italian, 38-year-old, or soon-to-be 38-year-old. He's 38 next month, Giorgio Chiellini.
And you can hear the G's.
Yes. Whitecaps had been linked with him. He was never coming here if LAFC were going to be interested, but
I think
a
you need to
38-year-old in BC Place turf, I don't think was a good mix anyway.
yeah, I think you need to say the Whitecaps were linked with him, a la their link with Didier Drogba.
Yeah. This is like I link them in my mind with every single player, but
I think I was 38 for that first media match, and I was on BC Place turf, and it didn't fit. It didn't fit with me.
Have you recovered? Have you recovered?
I'm still recovering.
Yeah, I've not recovered from that. Chiellini, though, he's a legend of the game. He's a fantastic player. We saw that at the Euros last year, like how good he still is. Is he a key addition for LAFC, or is he a luxury addition for them?
I think he is a key one because they're not usually good defensively, and maybe he can bring some presence on the back line.
They have got better this year, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true, but I'm just talking about in the past and everything like that. So I think that helps a little bit. I don't think it's a luxury in the case that if it was a DP signing, then it would be a luxury, but they were able to get him as a TAM signing. So it's definitely not, you can't really go. And as long as he doesn't get bitten, I think he should be fine playing in MLS.
Yeah. I think these are really, really interesting signings. I think we've talked lots. Steve, you especially talked lots of how LAFC feels like they've never recovered from trading Walker Zimmerman.
Yeah,
and although this is obviously not a long-term replacement in any way, shape, or form, you think it's got to at least help, right? It's got to help their back line. I think when Nesta came, right? Nesta came to Montreal for like a year and a half or 2 years or whatever it was, and he I think helped them a little bit, at least a little bit. So I think Chiellini's in better shape and a better old player than Nesta was. So I think
he doesn't play like a normal 38-year-old.
No, not at all.
Whenever, and I know he wasn't this old, like whenever you get a veteran center back, it always helps you out. Like we are Whitecap, obviously not the same level, but Andy O'Brien, when he came in, he helped solidify the back line.
Totally.
Like whenever you get a solid veteran, as long as they're not like they can run a little bit, they're not totally like cemented to the turf or whatever. I think you're always going to be in a better shape when you bring somebody in.
With Bale, I guess their big hope too.
We haven't come to Bale.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
he hasn't.
Spoiler.
Spoil it.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, last thing on the Chiellini thing, though, was like LAFC's defence, just had a quick look, second best in the West this year, fourth best in all of MLS. So they've certainly shored that up.
Yeah.
And he's going to help shore that up even more.
Yeah, which I think a part of that is Trundle, right? He was a defender.
Mm-hmm.
You'd expect him to get his defense to be playing better.
Although East Fife's manager is a forward that played for Scotland, and we can't score goals, so it doesn't always work that way.
No, that's true. No, so again, the question similar question we asked with TFC is, could Chiellini disrupt what seems to be a better improved back line?
I mean, is he a regular starter? Do they rotate it out like Vanny with his constant rotation?
Like grass, no grass, grass, no grass. I think that might be his rotation.
That actually might be the rotation.
Is he going to play? I heard he was going to debut in El Tráfico or whatever they call that game.
Oh, possibly, because I think the transfer window doesn't open again till, I think it's July 8th, which is why they can all play on July 9th. So he won't be here for this game the weekend. We might make the trip just to wave to folk, see Vanny. Italians getting together. But then the other big news this weekend, spoiled there by Zach, because no one will have heard it otherwise.
Oh, I thought you were going to edit it out.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Gareth Bale, the boy from Wales, as our former Wavelength song put it, he's also LA bound to get fit for the World Cup. So basically, if Scotland had beat Ukraine and then beat Wales, LAFC would not be getting Gareth Bale.
No.
But he was almost going to retire. If Wales hadn't made the World Cup, the rumours were he was going to retire. Then he was linked to going to play for his hometown club in Cardiff in the Championship, and that was almost a done deal. But then he likes playing golf in LA, he said. So he's come to LAFC to get fit for the World Cup. He signed a 1-year deal with apparently a 1-year option. And it's a big deal for me. I think it's bigger than Insigne going to TFC, potentially.
Potentially, the splash, yeah.
The thing for me is the funniest thing I saw was I happened to be watching the Seattle LAFC game. I was flipping through it, and like I don't Saturday mornings I'm not gonna open up Twitter and see what's going on. So they said, breaking news. Gareth Bale joins. Like they actually said it on the air, and then I looked on Twitter. It was like announced like 5-6 hours ago. I was going, what breaking? Like they made it sound like it was breaking news, like breaking right on the broadcast.
Well, remember this, like sometimes there's a satellite delay, so it takes a little bit of time to get.
and then they, like, the way they were building it up, they were like top 5 player in the world and stuff like that. They were like,
slow the roll.
On his day, though, he is up there.
No, what I'm saying, you got to listen to top 5 player, and then they would add something in after that, after they said it, and so it was like it was very comical the way they were talking about it and everything like that.
According to Wikipedia, his salary in 2021 was £31.2 million, but yet he's coming to LAFC as a TAM player. Isn't it wonderful how MLS mechanisms work?
Yeah, but I think these are well within the regs, right? Like I don't. This is not a Miami situation.
No, it's not going to be one of those.
So good for them for taking advantage of how the rules are.
Like, genuinely, although I sarcastically go on about it, well done to any club that can make something like that happen.
Yeah.
Typically, if you think of it, you're when you getting in shape, you're paying a fitness center. Here, he's getting paid, so it's like it's not that far off.
And he gets
like
to play
he's getting
golf.
paid. He gets, exactly. And so maybe like I guarantee you, he's not going to be paying for any golf things. I'm sure there's a lot of owners there that own country clubs and can hand him in his guests. So there he gets a lot of golfing in. I guarantee you, like somebody's going to have an available place to stay where it's not going to cost them that much and stuff like that. So I guarantee you there'll be like stuff that off the books it'll make it more financially viable for him.
Oh,
whether they want to admit that or not.
The thing is, for me, is what does this mean for, like, where's he going to play? Because he prefers to play on the right side, which is where Vela plays. So is he moving over to the left wing, or is Vela moving over to the left wing?
I mean,
or they play him. With Wales, does he play as a striker?
Yeah, they could play him through the middle because he has done that for Wales.
Wales, he plays in the middle.
I'd rather have Vela through the middle, to be honest, though, if you're looking at that. So.
Maybe they switch back and forth. You can do a switch where one plays in the middle.
Vela feels more like a false nine, and I don't know that really suits Bradley's desire. Or sorry, not Bradley, Trundle's desire. By the way, also, I know one of the conversations around this is you have Insigne arriving now. You have Chiellini coming, and then you have Bale, 3 dudes in their 30. Just to correct myself from before, Insigne is actually only 31 at this moment. So only, I think, 3 years older than when Giovinco arrived at TFC. But it does bring back the whole conversation around, the whole retirement league thing, when MLS has done really well to get away from that.
Because I think the average age, I think I read on MLS squads is 24. But folks not going to see that. Folk in the UK is not going to, like, when I talk to my friends about MLS, they look down in the league and I'm saying, look, there's some quality players here. And then this happens and you sign a guy that's 38, you sign Bale, and it's like, it's just a retirement league. And it's hard to shake that image when you've got that. But they
Yeah,
have
it's-
top quality players.
For sure. And it's difficult to, you have to say it about Bale, that he's coming here for, and that makes it a little bit, wishy-washy where you're saying, oh, he's getting in shape for the World Cup. It seems like he's using MLS or whatever.
Yeah.
It's Insigne and Chiellini, you definitely don't have that where they're getting ready for the World Cup for sure. That's not the case for them. So at least that's something.
Yeah, or any Scottish players that we might want to sign. I mean, it annoys me that tie gets thrown about so much because it just simply isn't true, and anyone that pays attention to the league knows it isn't true, and it is a young league, and there's lots of exciting young players in it, and you've got the young designated player rule and everything like that as well. If Bale went to play for Cardiff, would they have said, oh, the Championship's just a retirement league? No, of course they wouldn't, because it's in England and it's like it's looked at differently there. But
Chiellini and Insigne also just didn't sign there.
no. But like if Chiellini did, would they say that? If Chiellini went to sign in the Premier League, would they say, oh, it's a retirement league? Of course they wouldn't.
No, but
Of course, Messi coming over as well in the later...
yeah,
of his career
because
as well.
that's what I mean. It's not in a vacuum, right, Michael? It's not one player in one moment, right?
No.
It's like a number of players at the end, at or near the end of their career, or they're taking advantage to make a payday, right? Like, one of the most crazy things is to see what Zlatan has, did after he left. Like, he kept going and kept on smashing in goals in year. And to be fair, I guess Golden Ball sort of did as well. Like, playing in MLS actually helped him. But then you have like the Lampards and the Stevie G's and the other end of the spectrum where things were not so great. I guess actually Lampard went back and contributed.
He went back to the Prem.
Yeah,
I think most clubs, if they get a chance to sign a big name player like that, they would go for it because of the marketing aspect as well.
Oh, it's a massive part of it.
How many jerseys are they going to sell for Bale? How many jerseys are they going to sell for Chiellini and Insigne? And I mean, I'm pretty sure the Whitecaps sold a lot of gold jerseys as well.
And that is, to be fair, that is one of the valid critiques of Vancouver's approach to not sign a player. Lots of people have been, look, you have to, if you take the approach of signing a player that people have heard of, they'll buy his kit, they'll come to the ground, they'll care about your club, whatever. But the Whitecaps, in whatever 10, 11, 12 years have decided never to go that route.
No. But we'll see how it all shakes out. I mean, the West just now it's looking really tight. The Whitecaps sitting in 9th, as I said. LAFC, they're leading the way. They've got 33 points from their 16 games. RSL, keeping the pace up there, 29 from 17. Austin, keeping the pace up there, 28 from 16. Dallas, still not dropping off, 26 from 16. Then Nashville, 26. LA Galaxy, 24. Seattle, 23. Houston, 21. Vancouver, 21. And we won't cover the dregs. Although underneath Vancouver just now, you've got Colorado, playoffs last year. Portland, playoffs last year. Minnesota, playoffs last year. KC, playoffs last year. So, there's not a lot to choose between these teams. Every point is at a premium. Next game for the Whitecaps is this Saturday, LAFC. We won't delve into it too much. I just want to ask you two things. First of all, what kind of reception do you think Max Crepeau and Mark DeSantis is going to get from the BC Place crowd?
I honestly, unless like Mark DeSantis runs on the pitch, I don't think anybody's going to really notice him on the bench or anything like that. Crepeau, on the other hand, he's going to be behind the Southsiders or on the South side. So I think he will probably. There'll be a couple of guys that are probably nice and boozed up, and they'll probably give him a razzing. If I'm Crepeau, I don't take it.
If I'm there, I'll be one of them.
No. If I'm Crepeau, I don't take it personally. Like it happens.
I don't think he will.
Hopefully he doesn't. Like people, when you leave a club, and it was whatever the case was, it was kind of under weird circumstances. You kind of, the fans will feel abandoned, their supporters will feel abandoned, some of them. So there will be a little bit of razzing. So I expect it, but I don't know how long it's going to last.
I think to answer your question, don't think DeSantis. I agree with Steve. I don't think DeSantis will get much, even when he's walking in and out of the tunnel. I think there's people who didn't didn't rate him as much of a coach, or didn't feel the job he did here was what they had hoped for. So but I don't think there's a lot of like ill will towards him. And to Steve's point, I agree that, when you have a player who requests a move, people feel hurt by it and they're upset by it. I was talking to some people at the Canada game about it, had Max played or whatever, and there was a few people who were like, kind of expressing they would have expressed their feelings negatively.
I think he would have got a tough reception. We spoke about it on our never heard extra show.
But so I think he will totally get booed and get some shtick, maybe sung about him or negatively or whatever. But if you're Maxime Crépeau, you're a professional and you don't like. I don't think it's going to impact him.
I don't think it's going to.
I think it'll make him want to perform even better.
I don't think like what I'm saying. Like I don't want him to personally take it. I like whether it impacts him. Yeah, and that's fine. Like I don't want him to go look. The thing I hate a lot is like when players. First of all, I hate it when supporters don't look at the positive time that the player had, even though they maybe requested a move. And I hate it when the players don't look at the positive, even if they maybe got booed by the supporters or fans. So for me, I think it's part of the game, and I don't think anybody should take it personally.
Predictions for it. I'll kick things off. I see LAFC come in running the show 3-1.
Oh, I was going to say that. So I guess I'll go 3-2 for fun.
Oh.
I'll go 2-0.
2?
4.
Oh, do I have to say who?
Yeah.
LAFC.
Okay, so we're very confident for next weekend, our post-Canada Day show that we'll be bringing out next weekend. That is pretty much it for this episode of the show, but we can't end the show without this week's wavelength. And I've gone back for quite a recent song. It's from a 2021 album by an artist that we're going to go with the pronunciation Kunt and the Gang. You can check out all their stuff on Bandcamp. That's with a K. And this is one of a number of football songs that Mr. Kunt has. And this is from their 2021 album, Corona Club Classic, Volume 1. It's Christian Atsu and his Katsu Curry.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Christian Atsu and his Katsu Curry. 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 Christian Atsu and his Daihatsu Curry. Christian Atsu and his Daihatsu Curry.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Christian Atsu and his Katsu Curry. Christian Atsu and his Katsu Curry. Christian Atsu and his shiatsu massage. Christian Atsu and his shiatsu massage. His shih tzu puppy, his Komatsu lorry. His hat's too furry, and his cat's Bill Murray. His fatsu painting, his catsuit worry. His fatso orgy, and his rapu McFlurry. Atsu, Hatsu, Daihatsu, Shiatsu. Atsu, Hatsu, Daihatsu, Shiatsu. Atsu, Bombatsu, Stikalatsu, Fifatsu, Fifatsu, Stikalatsu. That's how you spell Atsu. Christian Atsu and his Katsu Curry. Christian Atsu and his Katsu Curry. Christian Atsu and his Katsu Curry. Christian Atsu and his Katsu Curry.
Kunt and the gang there, Christian Atsu and his katsu curry, a song all about the 30-year-old Ghanaian winger, Christian Atsu. He's played for Porto, Chelsea, Newcastle, amongst many others. Played at the 2014 World Cup with Ghana. And what I liked about this song is the fact that Atsu rhymes with katsu, diatsu, shiatsu, and other similar things. So I thought what we could do is we could maybe re-record that song for a Whitecaps player. So these are the suggestions I've come up with so far. Jake Nerwinski and his box of Twinkies. Or Cavallini and his peach Bellini. Not the two best ones. I think I've saved the two best ones for the end. Eric Godoy and his roast beef po' boy. That would work. But my particular favourite, Cody Cropper and his BK Whopper. I originally had Big Whopper, but I thought that could maybe just lead to some misunderstandings as to what the song was about. But let us know your suggestions if you've any songs of a similar Whitecaps player and food sounding similarity.
Tybert and Sherbert.
Oh, Russell Tybert and his box of sherbet. That would kind of work. Yeah, okay. So yeah, let us know yours. Usual place, AFTN Canada on Twitter, aftncanada@hotmail.com if you want to send us an email. That is it for this episode of the show. Just before we go though, guys, let us know where they can find you online. Any final thoughts on anything that you've learned this week, Steve?
You can find me on Twitter at Whitecaps Beat, and what I learned is buy air conditioners in the winter and buy your de-icing salt in the summer.
Sage advice. Zach?
You can find me on Twitter at Zachary AM, occasionally tweeting there. I'm going to go with a different kind of end to the show kind of thing. I want to give a shout out. Like most people in this country, I grew up with a strong appreciation for the game of ice hockey. Played it, watched it, loved it.
Folk hate when you call it ice hockey.
Oh, that's okay. That's what the world calls it. Yeah, I just want to give a shout out. I have a coworker whose son this evening lifted the Stanley Cup in Tampa, in Tampa.
The game was in Tampa.
The game was in Tampa, and so her family was down there enjoying the win.
Who was the player?
Devon Taves.
Oh yeah, Devon Taves, defenseman.
Yeah, so I work
left-sided defenseman.
I work with his mom, and so just really super excited for her, and
that's cool.
Yeah, texting with her, she sent a picture. It's weird. All the families are on the ice celebrating.
What they do is they once they present the cup and they skate around with it, then they let the families on the ice.
I don't remember that back in the day. I
haven't
watched in years, but
no, it doesn't happen. This is a very recent thing. It kind of really, that's the one thing that perturbs me out of everything. I hate it for any other sport too. When the families, I feel like the players should get their time on together, and then the families can join in. I can't remember. I don't know today how quickly they were on the ice, but eventually they do get on the ice.
Yeah. So I have two questions for you. One, is he going to listen to this show? And if not,
no.
thank him.
Probably.
No.
Okay. Two, the Stanley Cup was on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a fantastic game.
I genuinely haven't seen any. I watched a little bit of Calgary in the playoffs, but that was pretty much it.
There was one part where you guys could appreciate this. The player blocked a shot with the bottom of their foot, like it's good at the bottom of the skate. That's very painful, right?
Yeah.
And then his teammate is like carrying him off the ice, like carrying him in the middle of the play, like the play's still going on. He's carrying him off the ice, not because he's worried about him being hurt, but because he's trying to get the injured player off somebody healthy again. It was in the last 5 minutes of the game. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a 2-1 win. Yeah,
it was a very good final. It was so exciting.
Yeah. So anyway, shout outs to the
Taves family.
The family, yeah.
Well, I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read all our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Give us a like, subscribe, turn on notifications on YouTube, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. What I learned this week is even though Canadian soccer is really on a roll just now and everyone's excited by it, the under-20s still couldn't get past Guatemala.
Oh yeah.
And are out of the Under-20 World Cup reckoning and the CONCACAF tournament, so that was disappointing. But also, get out and take in some League One BC action. It's been absolutely fantastic. Genuinely have seen some quality games in both the men's and the women's division. There's a game on Wednesday night in North Van. It's going to be Altitude against TSS Rovers, and then a huge game next weekend at Thunderbird Stadium. It's going to be TSS Rovers and Varsity FC. Top of the table clash in the men and the women's division. Get out and support local soccer. We will be back soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon the Caps and League One BC.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.